Hi guys, today's lesson is going to be entitled Pedigree Charts. So after you did the do now, there is a 9.5 minute video. I will go back and go over the answers in a second, but what I would like you to do is please take out your notes packet. If you don't have your notes packet, please take out your notebook and something to write with. I'll give you a second. You're going to find the slide that says Pedigree Chart. Okay, you can put your bell work to the side. We'll go over it in a minute, and I'll give you a second to find that. All right, so a pedigree chart is a pretty cool thing that we do in genetics. A pedigree chart traces a genetic trait in a family tree. So it's going to give us a lot of information. We use symbols to represent things in a pedigree. And this is going to show the presence or absence of a trait in each member of the generation. So right now it doesn't look like much, but once I give you the code and the information, you're going to realize how much information it really does give you. So anytime you're creating a pedigree chart, you're going to use what we call a square, okay, symbol, and that's going to represent a male. So let's go through. Person number 1 is a male. Person number 3 is a male. Person number 2, male. 4, male. 6, in this line over here, okay, 3 and 4. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 males in this entire pedigree chart. Females are going to be represented by circles. So here we're going to show female 1, female 2, this person over here, female, 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 female. So let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 females are shown in this pedigree. Now we're going to look at the other things that it can show. They can be, the circles and squares can be shaded in completely. So if you think about the word homozygous, remember homozygous means the same. So if the person has the trait, okay, they're going to be colored in completely. That means they show the trait, they have the trait, okay, and they're completely colored in. If the person is what we call a hybrid, or is going to be now a new word called a carrier of a trait, they are heterozygous, which means two different. We're going to shade in half of the circle or half of the box or half of the square. Okay, so that shows us carriers. Again, that means that they're carrying the trait, but their phenotype does not show. So, some other information about this pedigree. Each line across represents one generation. Okay, so let's pretend and give this a little information. Let's say that these are grandparents, right? And these are grandparents over here. And I'm going to show this represents a union or a marriage, and the line that comes off of it represents their children. So let's say person number 1 and person number 2, and try to figure out how many children did they have. They have 1, 2 children. Now what I want you to see is that, are they male or female? Well, this couple had a male and a female. So they have a son and a daughter. Okay? All right, let's keep going. This also represents a union or a marriage. So this person, number 2 in generation, so this would be generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. So person number 2, which is a male, has a union or a marriage with person number 1 because they're connected. These are brother and sister. This is showing a union or a marriage. Now we're going to see how many children did person number 1 and person number 2 have in their union or marriage. They had 1, 2, 3 children, which shows us 2 females because of the circle and 1 male. Okay, let's look over here. Okay, this couple over here. So dad, number 3, mom, number 4. We know because of their shape. They have how many children? They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Person number 4 is a male, 5 is a female, 6 is a male, 7 is a female. So they have 4 children. Now you can see in the same generation that number 3 has a union or a marriage with person number 4. Okay, and you can follow their line. So now here we are showing their children. Okay, so number 4, 5, and 6 in generation number 3 shows a male, female, and another female. They had 3 children. Okay, so now what other types of information can I tell? Well, I can tell you that if I follow this back and I want to look at this number 4 over here, I can tell you that that person has the trait because they're completely colored in. I can tell you that their parents were heterozygous, which means they carried the trait. They didn't show it. And they gave it to person number 4, their son. If I go back, this is their mom, this is their dad. But if I go back, this is their maternal side, right? Their mom's side. Person number 1 and person number 2 in generation 1, that's their grandparents. So their grandparents over here, okay, are shown over here for their mom's side, and this is their dad's side. Now, this isn't completely filled in because if you look over here, person number 3 had to get that trait from one of the parents, right? So we know one of these has to at least be a carrier here. And the same thing for these grandparents. There's going to have to be a carrier here to give it to person number 4. Okay. All right, so those are the basics, and then we're going to do an example where we follow a trait. So if we go to the next page, okay, now we have some names. Okay, so we have Maria and Jose Sr., okay, and they have a union and a marriage or a marriage. And let's see, first question. All right, so I want to know who can tell us how many children Maria and Jose had. All right, so jot that down on your paper. How many children? Maybe you could write it on the side. How many children does Maria and Jose Sr. have? Okay, so let's look. They have Maria, they have Dora, they have Raphael, they have Jose Jr., and they have Joel. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children together. That would be 1, 2, up to 2 females, 2 daughters, and 3 sons. Now, if you're asking, why didn't I count Angela and Carlos and Johnny, Donna and Keisha? I didn't count them because they, if you can see, have a union or a marriage with each of these children. They're not Maria and Jose's biological children. Okay, so they're in the same generation, and let's do that too. Let's count. This is 3 generations, so it's showing you 1, 2, 3. You can label them by putting a 1, Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, and Roman numeral 3. Okay, so let's go to Maria and Johnny. Maria and Johnny, they had 1, 2, 3 girls. Okay, and if we're following this trait, how many of them had the trait? How many of them have the trait? Well, I would say 1 and 2 have the trait. Okay, Kate is considered like her mother. What's that word that we use? That's a carrier. Okay, so you want to label those carriers. Okay, let's go on and look at Dora and Carlos. Okay, Dora and Carlos, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. They had all carriers. Can you tell me in this family, since all of them are carriers, which one, Mom Dora or Dad Carlos, has the trait? I hope you said it was Dora because Dora is completely colored in. Now, if I wanted to really make this accurate, what do I now know about Carlos? Well, actually, I don't know for sure. But she gives the trait each time, so maybe this is good. We don't have to color him in. All right, Raphael and Angela, how many children do they have? They don't have any at this time, so we're going to move on. And then we're going to say Trayvon, if you notice, okay? So this is from Jose Jr. and Dawn. He's a carrier, okay? And then we have these two children over here. Do you notice something a little different about these two children and the way that it's set up? This is showing you twins. Okay, so this is showing you twins. And since they're male and female, we know they're fraternal twins, but it does help you to give that little piece of extra information. All right, so let's see if you can tell me, who is Kate's grandmother? Who is Kate's grandmother? Okay, I hope you said Maria. Maria is Kate's grandmother. Now, Maria is also the name of her mom, so not to be confused there, but this Maria is her grandma. Okay. How many brothers does Joe have? How many brothers does Joe have? Joe has Will and Joe has Jonah, so he has two brothers. All right, here's a tricky one. How many cousins does Trayvon have? How many cousins does Trayvon have? That's tricky. Give you a little time. What do you think? Okay. Hopefully you figured out that since they're in the same generation, and you know that Trayvon's, this is his Uncle Joel and his Aunt Keisha. So these are going to all be their cousins. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cousins for Trayvon. Okay. All right, so that was some information you could find if you were going to list, okay, all of the carriers. You would list everybody that is halfway shaded in, okay, and all of the people that have the trait would be fully shaded in, and if they don't have the trait, that would be Carlos, Angela, Donna, and Keisha, because they're not colored in at all. All right. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about pedigrees. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to our bell work. That's not the right one. And okay, so I have it paused here, but let's go over some of the answers. So number 1 had asked you, what is a pedigree chart? If you didn't get it from the movie, hopefully you got it from the notes just now. So a pedigree chart is a diagram that traces a trait in a family tree. So a pedigree chart is a diagram that traces a trait through a family tree. Okay, squares. So squares or boxes are going to represent males. So number 2 is males. Number 3, what do the circles represent or stand for? Those are going to be females. Okay. Number 4, what's the genotype? Now remember, genotype is gene pairs. What does a carrier have? So that's one of those boxes or circles that are halfway shaded in. So if I'm a carrier, I am going to not show the trait. That's where they get that term from. We carry it without showing it. But I'm going to then pass it. I could pass it along. So it's a half shaded in box, but that doesn't tell me my genotype. That tells me my symbol. My genotype would be heterozygous, a hybrid, because it's carrying one of the traits, one of the recessive traits. Okay. And then what do each lines stand for? Okay, so hint, this one had 3, and I'm talking about the horizontal lines. Those are generations. All right, and then by the end, please make sure you answer the problem on your sheet. What is a pedigree chart? Hopefully, we all know that now. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to give you the page for you to complete in your packet, and then we will check in again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.